Hi guys, today I'm going to show you how to make these tiny daffodil charms. You can find the full written PDF pattern in the description of this video if you want to follow along that way too. Let's get started. Here are the supplies you'll need for this tutorial. I recommend using a thin 4-pound fire line. We're going to be passing through the same beads multiple times, so having a thinner thread is really important for this tutorial. You'll also need orange beads, yellow beads, green beads, and I'll be using clear beads for my bead loop, but you can use whatever color you have on hand. For step 1, we're going to pick up 5 orange beads, slide the 5 beads all the way down. I like to leave a 4 to 6 inch tail, and you can work that in or cut it off whenever you feel it's convenient. Once you slide the beads down, loop through all 5 beads, creating a circle, and I like to loop through this twice. This is what it should be looking like after step 1. I do not recommend looping through these beads more than twice because we are going to have to work back into these 5 orange beads later in the pattern. We are now going to be adding 1 yellow bead between each of the beads from our previous round, so 5 yellow beads total. Pull tight to make sure these yellow beads sit nicely in between the orange beads from the previous round. So this is what it should be looking like. To set ourselves up for the next step, we need to loop through one of the yellow beads. So just go through the yellow bead that's right next to the orange one we're currently coming out of. Okay, so now we are going to be adding 2 yellow beads between each of the yellow beads from our previous round. So we'll be adding 10 yellow beads total. So you'll pick up 2 yellow beads and then enter the next yellow bead from the previous round. And continue this all the way around. You do have to pull a little tight to make sure they are sitting nicely. And to set ourselves up for the next round, we need to position our thread so it's exiting between a pair of these newly added beads. Okay, so I have my thread set up between those 2 yellow beads, and in this round we're going to be picking up 2 yellow beads and stacking them right on top of the 2 yellow beads from the previous round. And I do have to kind of fight with them for them to stack nicely on top of the ones from the previous round, so just be patient with that. Basically, you pick up 2 yellow beads, enter the yellow bead directly next to the one your thread's coming out of, and then you can travel down towards the lowest yellow bead that we've added so far, and then back up towards the yellow bead that is higher than that one. I hope I'm not overcomplicating it. Just really look at the photo and it'll make more sense. Okay, I believe we are on step 5 now, and for this round we are just going to be adding 1 bead on top of those 2 bead clusters, so 5 yellow beads total. To set ourselves up to do that, we need to travel up towards a cluster of those stacks of 2 beads, so we're coming out of the top. And you just pick up 1 yellow bead and then enter your needle down through the next 2 consecutive yellow beads. Instead of traveling down through the lowest yellow bead, I'm just traveling through those 2 bead clusters now. And this is what it should look like when you're finished this step. Okay, this is step 6, and you can actually add your bead loop whenever you want. I find it easiest to add it now. So we're going to travel up towards one of the single beads we just added in the previous row. And once you're there, you're going to pick up 5 clear beads or whatever color you have on hand, and we are just going to be creating a bead loop. Loop through this twice to make sure it's super secure and can hold your hardware later. To set ourselves up for the next step, we need to be coming out of one of the 5 original orange beads. It does not matter which one, just work your way there. Now that my thread is in the correct position, I'm going to be adding 1 orange bead in between each of these 5 original orange beads. So pick up 1 orange bead and then enter the orange bead directly next to the one you're coming out of. Repeat this all the way around until you have 5 beads added total. Once all 5 beads are added, we need to step up into one of the beads we just added in this row. Okay, now that your thread is in the right position, we are going to be basically repeating the same step again. So we're going to be adding 5 new orange beads this round, and they will sit directly in between the orange beads from the previous round. Okay, so now we need to travel down through a specific bead that is in line with our bead loop. It's between the 2 petals. I've added a photo on screen of what it looks like on the front and back. The easiest way I find to get there is to travel through the orange beads we just added and go through the one that is directly on top of that yellow bead that we're trying to get to. And then I just ladder stitch down into it once I'm on the bead on top of it. However you want to get there though is fine, whatever is easiest for you depending on where your thread is, and it doesn't really matter as long as you get to this position. Okay, so now we are going to be ladder stitching on 8 green beads, which is why it's important that we are coming out of this specific bead that is in line with our bead loop. So just go ahead and ladder stitch on those 8 green beads. I'm working with the back side facing me here. I find it's easier, especially for the first ladder stitch. So now that all of our 8 beads are ladder stitched on, we are going to work our way up to the 5th bead of this stem, counting from the bottom up. Now that I'm here, I'm going to string on 7 green beads, and I'm going to enter back through the same bead my thread is currently coming out of. And you kind of want to wiggle your beads in place to get that leaf shape. Okay, and we are going to do the same exact thing on the opposite side to complete the other leaf. So string on 7 beads and enter the bead you're currently coming out of, which is the same one we did last time. And to reinforce these beads, we just basically make a figure 8 with our thread. And it's kind of hard to show on camera because at this point the daffodil is a little bit fiddly, but I'm going to keep all the footage in just so you can see. And I'm just making sure to only secure these leaves by entering the 5th bead that we worked up to. That keeps them nice and in line with each other. If you secure them by entering the bead above or below on the ladder stitch, that'll kind of shift them off center. Okay, so this is what it should be looking like after we've reinforced those two leaves. If you need to, loop through them again and just keep that figure 8 style thread path. Now we are going to work our way back up the ladder stitch stem, and then we can go ahead and tie our knots, which I'll show you how to do next. Okay, so I have worked myself back up into the petals, and basically I'm just catching the thread bridges and tying a knot. And after I tie about 3 knots, I switch thread directions and work away from those knots, and then I just burn my thread. After that, you can add your hardware, and these guys are ready to wear. Thanks so much for watching this video. You can find more of my written patterns linked in the description below. If you have any pattern suggestions, feel free to comment them. I'd love to hear from you.